If you have been frustrated that you're not getting the grades that you want on your essays, I'm going to tell you about one trick that you can do to immediately improve your grades. Hey everyone, I'm Eric Matheson. I'm a philosopher and a clinical ethicist based in Toronto, Canada. And in this video, I just want to talk about one easy thing that you can do to write better papers. Here is the thing. So often when students get their grade back and they're disappointed, they'll come to my office hours and they'll say,
Based in Toronto, Canada.
I don't understand, like, how could I have done better on this? And there are so many ways to improve writing your papers, to spend more time doing research, to outline, to have an editing process, to have others edit your work. But one of the simplest tricks that you can do is to, before you sit down and write the paper, is figure out who is grading it, either the professor or the instructor, or if there's a teaching assistant, and then talk to that person about your paper. I am always surprised that more people don't do this because in the cases where the paper really doesn't go well, the student will be confused, like, how did I not do better? I thought I was on the right track. And what often happens is that I'll look at the paper and I'll go, oh, okay, if we had talked about this for 5 minutes, for 2 minutes even, I would have been able to point out why this was not going to work. It's not really the student's fault. Like, there's some kind of misunderstanding that they have about the argument, or they just don't see that their argument has some kind of implication. And if they had just talked to me about it ahead of time, then it would have solved the problem. So here's what I recommend. The basic version of this is you think about what you're going to write about. You could sketch it out, write it out a bit. Go to the office hours of the person grading and say, can I just run my argument by you? And you just talk about it. You just say, here's what I want to do. Here's the thesis statement. Here's what the argument is going to be. Here's what the objection is. What do you think? And if there are any kinds of problems, then the biggest picture problems, that the grader will be able to spot those right away and say, oh, no, you've misunderstood this, so avoid that. If they don't have any issues like that, that doesn't mean that it's going to be a great paper automatically, but it means that that first pass of avoiding really big issues, that you've made it through that round, and so now you can start digging into it. That's the basic version of this. The more advanced version partly depends on how much access or how much time you can talk to the grader. But you'll get more mileage out of this approach if you take some time early and either write out an outline or a pitch of might just be a few sentences up to a sketch of the thesis statement, the argument's main move in a few sentences, the objection in a few sentences, and the response. And print that off, or have it on your computer, or email it to the grader, and then walk through it with them and say, do you see any problems? And how could I improve, or how could I make this even better? The more feedback you can get early on, that will save you headaches down the road, either that you write it out and then you realize before you hand it in, oh, there's this issue I didn't see, or even worse, that you spend all this time working on it, you submit it, and then you don't get the grade that you want. So that work up front will help you a lot. The reason I think students don't do this is because it's scary. They're worried that they're gonna that the argument is not good. And so it's so much better to find that out ahead of time, and to try to create some distance in your mind between your ideas and then connecting it with your ego. This is so hard to do because we come up with an idea, and especially in ethics, where if it's a topic you really care about, that when you come up with an idea, you don't want the person who's grading it to say, oh no, I don't think that this is going to work. But getting over that worry and realizing that it's going to pay off down the road will help you a lot. The most advanced version of this is that you can actually write out a draft. Now, I actually don't think you should do this until you first talk to the grader and made sure that you've gotten the green light to proceed. Because another thing that happens for my students is that they will write out a whole draft of the paper, and then I'll look at it and I'll see immediately the kind of issue that I could have identified if we had just had a conversation with it. So I would say the ideal approach is brainstorm some ideas, choose the best one or choose a couple, write out just a brief outline so that you are focused and you have something to bring in the meeting. The first meeting, maybe a couple weeks before the assignment is due, you go to the grader and you say, how does this look? What do you think? Should I proceed? And if the grader says, yeah, go for it, then you go for it. In the next meeting, if they read drafts, not everybody does, but if they read drafts, you write out the draft and bring it to them, and then you go through it kind of line by line. That is the two-part process that you don't write the draft before you get the green light, so that avoids a lot of work. And then once you've gotten the green light, then you write out the draft. And then the second round is just getting feedback from them about the main thing you're trying to ask them is, how could I make this better? You're not trying to figure out what grade would I get right now, or other kind of questions. The most focused question you can ask is what are the main things I can do to improve this paper right now? So if you do that, I promise that you will start getting better grades on papers, because this avoids the biggest risk especially in philosophy papers, which is that the idea that you have that you're just missing something or that you haven't quite caught it. I will say, I use this in my work all the time. I would never sit down and write out a full paper until I've talked to a bunch of people about it. So my process is that if I get an idea, then I'll just chat to some people I know, some other philosophers, some of my colleagues, and say what do you think about this? And we'd have a conversation. Here are kind of possible objections, or here are some worries. After that, in the kind of cycle of developing a full academic paper, I might write it up, and then I would send it out to some people I know, or I would try to present it at a conference. And once I've done that and gotten some feedback to make sure that I'm not missing anything, and also I get some more input on what are the common objections, what are the worries that people have, it's only at that stage that I would take the time to sit down and write the whole thing out. Academic papers are often 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 words. That takes a lot of time. And even if I'm pretty sure about the quality of the argument, I'm not going to take the chance of writing the whole thing out and then somebody saying, oh, but you've missed this point, or somebody's already said that, or some other kind of issue. So as they say in business and in startups, you want to fail early. So if it's not going to work, way better to figure that out in the early stages rather than finding it out once you've already invested a lot of work. All right, everyone, thank you so much. If you like this video, please like it. If you have any other questions or things that you're wondering about for writing papers, leave a comment below. Have a great day.